And the rich get richer. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, talking LSU one day after National Signing Day, the early one, of course, December 18th, and a nice haul by Coach O and the Bayou Bengals. We got Brett on the line. We got Mike on the line. You can join them at Pot of Gold on their podcast. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Oh, man, doing well. Just, kind of relaxing after a big signing day and just kind of ready to talk about it.
Doing good. Yeah.
Good stuff. So before we dive into it, let the folks know where they can find you and what you guys have going on.
Plug us, Brent.
Yeah, man. You can hit us up on Twitter at pot of gold, potofgold@gmail.com. We're doing a lot of different things. LSU's been really hot and on fire. We have Jimmy Smith of TigerDetails.com that's going to actually record with us once we're done with this to really deep dive into the recruits. But yeah, you can find us there, iTunes, anywhere you get the podcast.
YouTube as well.
Yeah.
We're launching a YouTube channel that we're going to start recording our episodes. So you can go to the YouTube channel, which is Pot of Gold. Guys, you can listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you can find podcasts.
So wait a minute, LSU's on fire? Did I miss something? I thought they lost 3 or 4 games every year and had a journeyman quarterback transfer that was a game manager. Did I miss something this season?
A lot has changed in the last few months. It was funny. I sent Mike a video before the season. It was really one of the only times Joe Brady spoke with the media. And I was like, watch this, knowing what we know now and realizing that this dude was like underselling what LSU was going to be this year. And it's just crazy. It's like, we're not used to it.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've been able to wake up and say we actually have a quarterback, and then actually to wake up now and have probably the best quarterback we have ever seen in the history of our school winning the Heisman. It's been phenomenal to watch, and the offensive production from the offensive line all the way to the quarterback, the receivers, Clyde, the whole group. It's just been incredible.
And definitely outside of LSU, for anybody who didn't have a stake in the game in the SEC, it was actually fun for the rest of us to watch that offense operate all season with those elite wide receivers and Joe Burrow at quarterback. What got lost at times was the contribution of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was more of a workmanlike running back last season. That's at least how it was viewed with the offensive line production and his statistics. But then he explodes this year into an actual star.
All right.
1,400 yards rushing, 16 touchdowns on the ground, 50 receptions out of the backfield. But unfortunately, we're hearing he may not be ready to go for Oklahoma.
If you look at what Joe Brady came from in the Saints style of offensive play, you see the emphasis of the running back. Alvin Kamara had a huge season. All the running backs for the New Orleans Saints usually catch the ball out of the backfield very well. They utilize Clyde in that same system. It has been rumored that Clyde injured his hamstring. Reports are that he tore his hamstring and he will be limited or out. We don't know the exact facts right now. They're kind of keeping it guarded for the Oklahoma game, but I have heard rumors that if we do get past Oklahoma, and in our opinion, we'll be playing Clemson, he should be good to go by that point.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Clyde also is, going into this season, you kind of mentioned it. All the talk was which one of these freshman running backs will be the featured back. Oh, maybe after Texas. And Clyde, I think what really made him special was, he caught 50 passes this year, and something that LSU receivers don't normally do. And I think that's the biggest thing. There's a lot of guys on this team that I think will be able to run the ball, but all the other things Clyde does well, that's the thing you're going to miss. Picking up the big block or making that big catch and fighting for 4 extra yards against Bama for a first down. That's what you're going to miss with a guy like Clyde.
So I can look at the stat sheet, and it goes right down the list to the guys that you just mentioned in regards to the big freshmen, Tyrion Davis-Prince, John Emery in particular. Chris Curry was the guy that was already in the program, obviously. But how would this running back distribution of carries look like, do you think, if he can't play?
It seems like, and Emery's had a couple issues with some pass blocking, and I think that's kind of not allowed him to get on the field as much, and Clyde's been doing so well this year. But Price is a guy that they've definitely wanted to mix in a bunch. He's a big back. Mike and I were standing next to him at a camp this summer, and he walked off, and I was like, what linebacker is that? He goes, no, that's the true freshman running back, Ty Davis-Price, coming in. I'm like, oh, so this dude's going to be a mauler. I think Price is going to get the majority of the carries. Something we've seen just very, very a few times this season is they've put Justin Jefferson in the backfield for specific plays. I could see them maybe working that more into the game plan a little bit, try to get that receiving help out of the backfield, because it's just such a safety blanket that Joe Burrow has been able to use all year.
Guys, this is why you don't trust the internet. So I know who Tyrion Davis Price is. I know who he is. I'm looking at sportsreference.com, one of my favorite sites. It's got all the college football, baseball, whatever sport, and it's got every stat in the world. Tyrion Davis Prince, and I read that and I thought they must know something more than me. I've said the guy's name about 142 times in my life over the off season, but I'm reading it right off the screen. So yeah,
TDP. That's what we go.
I'm gonna get blasted for that. I know who the guy is. I've talked about him for the last year.
TDP, Ty Davis Price, the whole bit. Listen, I wanted to jump in for 1 second. I think John Emery, moving from last season to this season, he had the biggest hype coming into this year. Big time 5-star player out of Destrehan. He was originally a Georgia commit. We pulled him back in, and he signed with the hometown Tigers. And this season, you have seen Ty Davis Price get the bulk of the carries. I would not be surprised, though, in this offseason, or not offseason, but in this playoff stretch with Clyde being out, that Emery takes that next step moving forward. I think he compares very well to Clyde. I think Ty Davis Price kind of has more of that downhill between the tackles running attack running style, where Emery, he's shifty. He's very shifty, and I think him comparing to Clyde may have limited his amount of carries, because he was just like Clyde, and the change of pace back was Ty Davis Price. So I think you're going to see a good balance between those two coming up against Oklahoma.
And someone that's not talked about, I mean, you mentioned his name, but hadn't had a ton of carries outside of the very end of the game. Chris Curry, when he gets on the field, he looks really fast, and maybe it's just that he's fresh out there, but he's a guy that the coaching staff loved last year going into the season and thought he would be able to get some carries. And then Nick Brissett was so good with Clyde as a backup. It never really happened. A lot of people kind of think he would end up transferring just because of the talent ahead of him. But every now and then he gets the ball, and you're like, man, this dude could probably run in the SEC. Like, he's a good player.